Things are heating up in Edmonton. A controversial contract extension has fans split. A blockbuster trade could shake up the crease. And to top it all off, one of our stars just got snubbed in the Hart Trophy race. This is the kind of stuff no Oilers fan wants to miss. If you bleed copper and blue, hit that subscribe button. Let's hit 1,000 subs and prove Edmonton's got the most loyal fans in the league. The front office finally made a move, and let me tell you, it's got the whole NHL buzzing. GM Stan Bowman's front and center after a call that caught a lot of people off guard. Now, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's get one thing straight. The Oilers are still retooling, bringing in fresh faces, but they need that mix of youth and grit. And that's exactly where this new deal comes into play. Bowman didn't shy away from the noise. He sat down on the 100% Hockey podcast with John Shannon and Deron Millard and laid it all out. Straight shooter, backed his decision with full confidence. But don't go jumping to conclusions just yet. There's more to this deal than meets the eye. Was it a smart long-term play or a rush job from the GM? Let's break it down. Here's the scoop. Bowman locked up winger Trent Frederic for 8 years at $3.85 million per season. Yeah, that's a serious commitment. Why Frederic? According to Bowman, this guy brings way more than just goals. He's tough, he's got bite, he's adaptable, and apparently, he's a rock in the room. Bowman called him a hell of a guy and said he's exactly the kind of presence he wants around long term. Frederic's had back-to-back 18-goal seasons and plays with that protector edge, something pretty rare in today's NHL. Bowman sees that as gold. And here's the kicker. Frederic was set to become a UFA. If the Oilers didn't move fast, he was probably heading out. So the team acted quickly, locking him in through 23-3. This all traces back to that March 2025 deal with Boston. Frederic came over with a couple of other pieces, and the Oilers gave up draft picks and Shane LaChance's rights, who eventually landed in Jersey. Bowman summed it up with this: "We knew we'd have smaller guys up front. I needed someone who can bring that edge. He's going to be a key piece for years. Now I gotta ask you, Oilers Nation, was this deal worth it? Or is it a gamble that could bite us down the road?" If you're digging the content, hit that like, drop a comment, and share it around with the rest of Oil Country. And don't forget to subscribe for all things Oilers and NHL. Now, don't go anywhere, cause the next story could blow this season wide open. There's a deal being whispered about behind closed doors, and if it goes through, it could make the Oilers even nastier to play against. We're not talking about just any name. Here, this guy's a legit difference-maker. Picture. Do's a bold move that could power one team straight toward the cup and send another tumbling into full rebuild mode. The chatter's real. Behind the scenes, there's talk of a trade that could set off a domino effect across the league. And as always, you're hearing it here first. Some teams are scrambling to save their season before it even starts. Others are looking to flip the page, go younger, lean into the future, even if that means taking some lumps. And right smack in the middle of all this, Edmonton's hunt for a true number one goalie. That's right, folks. The biggest hole in the lineup might be getting patched up in a big way. Word is, the Oilers are eyeing Jeremy Swayman from the Bruins. That's the rumor floating around several outlets. The proposed deal: Edmonton sends Stuart Skinner, Matthew Savoie-Boaki, and a 2028 first-rounder to Boston. That would be huge. The Oilers finally stabilized their net, and suddenly, we're talking about a legit challenge to the Stars and other Western Conference powerhouses. Boston, meanwhile, would be flipping the switch on a rebuild. Shipping out Swayman leaves them with Korpisalo and Skinner between the pipes, arguably the weakest goalie tandem in the league. Feels more like a play for a top draft pick than any kind of win-now plan. One league source said, "They're not the only ones poking around Swayman, but yeah, I've heard Edmonton's sniffing around. So yeah, this is real. Now all that's left is for someone to pull the trigger. So let me ask you, Oilers fans, would you make that deal for Swayman? Is this the move that finally puts us over the top? Let me know what you think in the comments. If you thought that was wild, buckle up. There's another name making the rounds in Edmonton, rumor mills. And if this one hits, it could send shockwaves through the NHL. You don't want to miss what's coming next. Now, let's shift gears a bit and talk about something that's still rubbing fans the wrong way. You know, the kind of season we had in 2025-26. Gritty, emotional, full-throttle hockey. But there were some calls, big ones, that just didn't sit right, and they might end up shaping what's next for this team. That's why today's video matters. Because this isn't just about stats. It's about respect, effort, and how one of our best players gave everything and still got snubbed. This is part of our special player-by-player season review series. And today, we're talking about one of the absolute elites in the game. Brace yourself, cause this might sting a little. When a guy scores 52 goals, puts up 106 points in just 70 games, leads the league in goals, takes home the Rocket Richard Trophy, and still doesn't win the Hart. That's tough to swallow. Yeah, we're talking about Leon Draisaitl. He was on an absolute tear this season. Even with fewer power play markers, he lit it up at even strength, 36 goals there, second highest in the NHL. And defensively, best year of his career. No question, when Draisaitl was on the ice, the Oilers allowed fewer shots, fewer dangerous chances, and controlled play like few other teams could. That's why he finished 6th in the Selk voting for Best Defensive Forward, a huge accomplishment for a guy known more for his offense. And for anyone thinking he disappeared in the playoffs, think again. He stayed elite, racked up goals and points, and led the charge when the games mattered most. A true leader, on and off the ice. But despite all that, the Hart went to Jets goalie Connor Hellebuyck. Look, no shade to Hellebuyck. He was fantastic. Took home the Vezina, but it's hard to ignore Draisaitl's impact, especially with the weight he carried in a contract year. Final year of his 8-year, $8.5 million AAV deal. So here's the question. Oilers fans, how does a player like that not walk away with the Hart? Was it fair, or did Leon get robbed? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear what you think. If this breakdown hit home, share it with your fellow fans. Smash that like button, leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe to help grow the strongest hockey community in Edmonton.